There's a moment in wealth building that changes everything. Hitting your first $1 million. It's not just a number, it's a psychological and financial threshold that separates those still building wealth from those who've achieved real financial security. Most people never reach it, spending their entire lives wondering what it feels like. But for those who cross this line, everything shifts. The stress fades, options multiply, and financial freedom stops being a distant dream and becomes tangible reality. The first million is also the hardest. It requires years of discipline, sacrifice, and consistency. But once you hit it, the second million comes faster, and the third even faster, because compound interest finally has enough capital to work with. I'm Kyle, and today I'm breaking down exactly what happens when you hit the $1 million mark. The psychological shifts, the financial changes, what you should and shouldn't do next, and why this milestone is more important than any other. If you're chasing your first million or you've just crossed it, this will change how you see your financial future. Let's dive in.
Here's the core concept. $1 million represents true financial independence for most people. At a conservative 4% withdrawal rate, $1 million generates $40,000 per year in passive income, enough to cover basic expenses in many parts of the country. It's not extravagant wealth, but it's the point where work becomes optional instead of mandatory. You can quit your job, take a sabbatical, pursue passion projects, or continue working, but on your terms. The psychological weight of financial obligation lifts completely. The $1 million mark is also where compound interest becomes exponentially powerful. Before this threshold, growth feels linear. You're contributing savings and watching slow progress. After crossing it, growth becomes exponential because your returns start generating their own returns. An 8 to 10% annual return on $1 million is $80,000 to $100,000 added without you contributing a dollar. That's more than most people save in a year from their salary. This is why the first million is the hardest and most important. It's the foundation that everything else accelerates from.
Here's why hitting $1 million changes your psychology. Scarcity thinking disappears completely. When you're building toward $1 million, every financial decision carries weight. You're constantly calculating, optimizing, and sacrificing. Once you cross the threshold, that pressure evaporates. You're not worried about rent, groceries, or emergencies anymore because you have a massive cushion. This mental freedom is transformative. You think clearer, sleep better, and make better decisions because you're no longer in survival mode. There's also a confidence shift. Reaching seven figures proves you can achieve ambitious goals, which builds self-efficacy that extends beyond finances. You start taking bigger career risks, negotiating harder, and pursuing opportunities you previously avoided. The paradox? Most people who hit $1 million don't change their lifestyle dramatically. They've internalized the discipline that got them there, so they continue living modestly. But they feel wealthier because optionality replaced obligation. The $1 million mark isn't about spending more, it's about stressing less and choosing more. Let's talk about how to reach your first million. The math is straightforward but requires discipline. If you invest $1,000 per month at an 8% return, you'll hit $1 million in about 25 years. At $1,500 per month, about 19 years. At $2,000 per month, about 16 years. The higher your savings rate, the faster you arrive. Most people reach their first million through one of three paths: consistent long-term investing in index funds, real estate appreciation combined with rental income, or building and selling a business. The common thread is time and consistency. There are no shortcuts that don't involve extreme risk. The strategy? Maximize your savings rate in your 20s and 30s, live well below your means, avoid debt completely, invest every raise and bonus, and never touch your investments regardless of market conditions. The people who hit seven figures fastest are those who treat reaching it as non-negotiable, sacrificing lifestyle in the short term for freedom in the long term.
Quick pause. If you think our channel can help you, subscribe now before you forget.
Here's what changes after you hit $1 million. First, compound interest becomes your primary wealth builder instead of your salary. Your investments might grow $80,000 to $100,000 annually without contributions, which exceeds most people's savings from work. Second, financial stress vanishes. You're no longer worried about emergencies, job loss, or market downturns because your foundation is solid. Third, career decisions shift from what pays most to what's most fulfilling. You can take lower-paying jobs you love, start businesses without fear, or retire early. Fourth, time becomes more valuable than money. You start optimizing for freedom and experiences instead of accumulation. Fifth, relationships improve because financial stress no longer strains them. Sixth, you gain negotiating power in all areas, employers, vendors, and service providers, because you're not desperate. Seventh, generational wealth becomes possible. You can fund your children's education, help families strategically, and build legacy. The shift isn't about luxury. It's about optionality, security, and freedom.
Let's address the psychological resistance. 1 million isn't enough anymore. I need $5 or $10 million to feel secure. This is goalpost shifting driven by hedonic adaptation. The truth is, $1 million is life-changing if you maintain modest expenses. The people who think they need $5 million often have inflated lifestyles, expensive homes, luxury cars, private schools. If you live on $40,000 to $60,000 per year, $1 million at 4% withdrawal covers you indefinitely. The reframe, 1 million isn't about retiring to luxury. It's about eliminating financial pressure and gaining optionality. If you want luxury, you need more. But if you want freedom, security, and choice, 1 million is enough. The second mental block? I'll never get there. It's too far away. This is why tracking progress matters. Celebrate $100,000, then $250,000, then $500,000. Each milestone proves you're capable and builds momentum. The people who reach 7 figures aren't superhuman. They're disciplined about doing small things consistently for decades. Here's what happens if you never reach $1 million. You'll work until you're physically unable to continue, relying on inadequate Social Security and modest savings to survive an old age. You'll have no optionality. Every decision will be constrained by financial necessity. You'll miss opportunities because you can't afford to take risks. You'll experience chronic stress about money well into your 60s and 70s. Your retirement will be downgrading your lifestyle, not enjoying freedom. You'll be dependent on family or government assistance instead of self-sufficient. The brutal reality: most people never reach 7 figures because they prioritize present consumption over future security. They inflate lifestyle with every raise, avoid investing out of fear or ignorance, and never develop the discipline required. Meanwhile, people who reach $1 million by 50 retire early, travel, pursue passions, and live stress-free. The difference isn't income, it's choices made consistently over decades. Not reaching 7 figures isn't inevitable, it's a consequence of not prioritizing it. Let's compare 2 people earning the same income over 30 years. Person A spends everything they earn: nice apartment, new cars, frequent vacations, dining out regularly. They save sporadically, maybe 5% of income. By 50, they have $200,000 saved, not enough to retire. They continue working into their 70s out of necessity, stressed and exhausted. Their lifestyle looks successful, but they're financially fragile. Person B lives modestly, rents or buys a modest home, drives used cars, cooks at home, takes affordable vacations. They save 30% of income aggressively. By 50, they have $1.5 million. They retire early, spend time with family, travel affordably, and live stress-free for decades. Their lifestyle looked boring, but they achieved freedom. Same career,
Same income, but person A prioritized appearance and stayed trapped. Person B prioritized freedom and escaped. The $1 million mark was the difference between working until death and retiring early. That's the power of consistent discipline over decades.
Here's the advanced strategy after hitting $1 million. Don't stop. The biggest mistake new millionaires make is relaxing discipline. Instead, maintain or increase intensity. First, protect your million. Keep it invested, don't inflate lifestyle, and let it compound. Second, shift focus to increasing income. With financial security, you can take bigger career risks that lead to higher earnings. Third, optimize tax efficiency. Use Roth conversions, tax loss harvesting, and strategic withdrawals to minimize taxes. Fourth, diversify intelligently. Maintain stock-heavy allocation, but add real estate or alternative investments for stability. Fifth, establish systems for continued growth. Automate contributions, annual rebalancing, and tax optimization so it requires minimal attention. Sixth, consider geographic arbitrage. If you're financially independent, move to lower-cost areas to stretch your million further. Seventh, focus on legacy, estate planning, trusts, and strategic giving to maximize impact. The pattern? Hitting 1 million isn't the end. It's the beginning of exponential growth and strategic optimization.
Let's talk about obstacles. I can't save enough to reach $1 million. My income is too low. If you're earning above poverty level, you can save something. Even $500 per month reaches 7 figures in 30 years at 8% returns. Start small, increase annually, and let time do the work. The market is too risky. What if I lose everything? Diversified index funds over 20-plus years have never resulted in losses historically. Short-term volatility is irrelevant if you don't sell. I have too much debt to start investing. Attack high-interest debt first, but don't wait until you're debt-free to invest. Split available cash between debt payoff and investing simultaneously. I'm too old to reach $1 million. If you have 15 years until retirement and can save aggressively, you can still build substantial wealth. It's not too late unless you don't start. The obstacles are real, but surmountable. The question isn't whether you have perfect conditions, it's whether you'll prioritize reaching 7 figures despite imperfect conditions.
At the core, hitting $1 million changes everything. Financial stress evaporates, optionality multiplies, and freedom becomes real. It's the point where compound interest takes over as your primary wealth builder, where work becomes optional instead of mandatory, and where life shifts from scarcity to abundance. The first million is the hardest, requiring years of discipline, sacrifice, and consistency. But once you cross it, everything accelerates exponentially. Most people never reach it because they prioritize present consumption over future security. The winners sacrifice lifestyle temporarily, invest aggressively for decades, and maintain discipline long after crossing the threshold. Start today. Calculate how much you need to save monthly to hit $1 million in your timeline. Automate that amount immediately. Cut every expense that doesn't serve this goal. Track progress quarterly, and commit to never stopping until you cross 7 figures. Tell me in the comments, how far are you from $1 million? And what's your timeline to get there? This is the milestone. This is the threshold. This is where financial freedom becomes real. Let's reach it together.
If you stayed until the end, you're clearly serious about improving your finances. Subscribe and help us reach 100K. And before you go, watch this next video. It could be exactly what you need for your financial journey.